Hey, this is Mark for the Game Industry Rundown. Welcome to another video about the game industry and my experience in it. Today we're going to talk about the controversial topic of competitors. Competitors, the other guy. The guys that are trying to eat your lunch, trying to put you out of business. Or are they? We're going to talk about it. Mark here for the Game Industry Rundown. Today, we're going to talk about competitors. Competitors, I feel, are kind of, for lack of a better phrase, a necessary evil. We have, in our market, we have several competitors. Many competitors may be a better word. Let me think. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that I can think of off the top of my head here. These are game stores or stores that compete with us for the tabletop game market. I'm not counting Target, Barnes and Nobles, Walmart, any of the big box stores. I'm only counting small mom and pop, locally owned and operated operations that are directly competing with us in some aspect of the game industry. We have 7. The population of our area, we're in South Bend. It's kind of deceiving. South Bend City is about 105,000, I think. But what we consider to be the greater metro area, which, let's be real, we're in Indiana. There's nothing metro about it. By no means are we in some big metropolis, but the metro area population is somewhere about maybe 300 or 350,000. We're going to use 350 just because it divides easily by 7, which gives us basically one game store for every 50,000 people. We should task the public to do some research and see how that compares to some of the other markets. I have lots of contact with other game store owners throughout the country, and the subject of competitors comes up quite a bit. And it's kind of a love 'em or hate 'em kind of relationship. For us, the relationship we have with our competitors, most of them, I would say we have a good relationship with. And to define good relationship, I define that as we're not actively being bad to each other. Good competitors will do any number of things to have a good relationship. Some of those things are as simple as just leaving us alone. We're over here, they're over there. We know each other exists, but we don't do anything to each other. We don't try to beat each other, scoop each other, be first with each other. There's a whole bunch of things that, when you're friendly, you just don't do. Our oldest competitor, which is actually a store that's been open longer than us, we have an extraordinary relationship with those folks. Our product mix, as far as our inventory, overlaps a little bit, but there's also big chunks of our inventory that they don't work with, and they have big chunks of inventory that we just don't really have any interest in participating in. So it's very easy for us when someone comes in asking for any of those products. We're very open and happily direct people to that competitor, and they do the same for us. We have people come in all the time and say, yeah, I was down at their store and they suggested I come up here and check you out. Very good competitors. Um, Mostly, though, what I want in a competitor is just somebody who is not, actively, I don't know what the phrasing is here, but, actively targeting us, actively trying to tear us down or make us look bad or, any number of things that crappy competitors do to each other. We have, over the years, have had some competitors that were just downright horrible. Uh, Currently, of the, I forgot what I said, seven, I think. Uh, Currently, of the seven, most of them I would consider friendly. There might be one or two that are sketchy or, you know, maybe not so friendly. And I would hope that that is because that's their choice and not my choice. I don't really have any desire to fight with a competitor. There's there's plenty of other things to focus your energy on than fighting with a competitor. It's just a waste of time, actually, in my opinion. Some things some bad competitors would do mostly has to do with social media. They'll take social media pot shots at you, whether it's just outright calling you out or whether it's you post a picture and then whatever the subject of that picture was, they immediately post a picture from their place that is intended to or is somehow better than the one you did. I'll let you out there in YouTube land define what better might be. It could be more people in a game space. It could be a bigger stack of inventory. It could be, a bunch of people hugging. I mean, I don't know, whatever. Whatever you would define as better. Sometimes those are just coincidence. Sometimes, we'll post a picture of here's the 4 copies of a board game that we just got in for sale, and by sheer matter of coincidence, a competitor will post, here's the 6 copies of that board game that we just got in for sale. Is that targeting us or is that just a coincidence? My experience tells me if they're a friendly competitor that most of the time that's just coincidence. For the board game example, us getting 4 and them getting 6 copies of a game, I don't view that as them targeting us to show that they got 2 extra copies of the game, that somehow makes them better. It's a board game that just came out. So, of course, if I'm advertising that we just got it in for sale, they're also going to advertise that they have it for sale. I mean, it's only logical. The fact that I got my post up first may mean something to the community, but I don't consider that targeting. We once had a competitor, and they're not open anymore, but when they were much smaller than we are. They only sold card games. They didn't have board games or minis or maybe RPGs. I don't know, but for whatever reason, they chose the hostile method for our relationship. Everything was a battle, be it start time of F&M or pre-release entry fee. It was, everything they did was marketing that they were going to beat us. They were going to be better than us. They were going to take us down. And they lasted for a couple of years. This would be a good time to point out that in that type of a situation where one of your competitors is absolutely coming after you, the best course of action is don't pay attention to them. Now, that is almost an impossible ask. I realize that. My wife and I, we typically, a couple times a month, we'll sit down and we'll have kind of a state of our business discussion. It's not an official meeting in any way. It's just a husband and wife sitting down talking about what's going on in their business. And a lot of times the subject of our competitors come up. And I will have conversations with my wife in the privacy of our home about our competitors and fully disclose what I really think of each one. And there's no deep, dark secret here that on the public face I say with our greatest competitor, the store that's been around longer than us, it's not a case where I'm telling you on this video how great our relationship is, and then, you know, when I sit down with the wife, I'm talking about how much I very much dislike them. It's not like that at all. But, you know, there are aspects of the conversation that I have with my wife that I maybe wouldn't have with people in the general public. But for the most part, to get back on track here, you know, that competitor that was just coming after us, I mean, they really got to me. They were posting on social media, taking shots at us, competing with us on every event, you know, $1 cheaper, 15 minutes earlier for start time. I mean, they were pulling out all the tricks. And it got into my head, and I was worried about it, and we started to make some decisions that in hindsight I realize were reactions to some of the things I was seeing from them. And at the time, I felt that those were the right decisions, but now, in retrospect, I should have followed my own advice and not paid attention to them. Telling a store owner to not pay attention to their competitors, it's really hard, and I admit that. Sometimes they get to me too. But the right move is don't pay attention to them. Don't make drastic decisions based on the actions of your competitor. That store that was giving us so much intense garbage on social media, when they did finally, they closed, and the reasons that they gave people for closing were not that the store wasn't making money. It was a couple of partners involved. I don't know the whole story, but one of them got a job offer somewhere that was too good to pass up, and the other one, his heart wasn't in it anymore, and there may have been a third partner that had some kind of personal issue. His girlfriend broke up with him or something, and just kind of a perfect storm of them all wanting to go their separate ways. So they closed up, and one of the guys started coming to our store to play, and we certainly, the first time he was there, he asked and said, you know, hey, is it all right if I come? And I said, of course, you know, come in and play. No hard feelings. After he came to the store for a while, I asked him, I said, you know, I'd like to ask you something, and if you don't want to tell me, that's okay. But I said, now that you guys have closed down and moved on, will you tell me what you were doing for sales? And he said, sure. And he told me the number. And I'm not going to say what the number is, but he told me the number. We'll call it X. He said, yeah, we were doing X. And I said, wow, X in a week? That's pretty good. You guys were doing all right. He said, oh no, X in a month. And I thought for a minute, we did X on Saturday. And that's not me bragging, but at least I hope you don't take it that way. For me, that was kind of the aha moment that, I mean, I was in anguish. I was laying awake in bed at night worrying about these guys because they were brutal on social media, and the players were involved, and players came in, and it was just always kind of thick tension about us versus them. And then after it was all over, I discovered that was all smoke and mirrors, that our business was strong and healthy and theirs really wasn't. That's been a long time ago that happened, but it's still a lesson that I think about constantly. So pay no attention to your competitors. You really can't do anything about it anyway. I mean, it's not like you can call them up and say, "Hey, stop running events against me." They're not gonna say, "Oh, sure, go ahead." They're gonna say, "We're getting him. Let's do it more." So one of the things that I do from time to time, and there are others in the game industry that will be very formal about this. I tend to not be so formal when they talk about business plans and things like that. I have never actually written a business plan down on paper, but I think about it constantly. It dominates my mind a lot. One aspect of a business plan that I think about a lot is called a SWOT analysis, and the acronym is SWOT. It stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And this is kind of if you draw on a piece of paper and you make a grid where you have 4 squares. In one square, you kind of list off your strengths. In another square, you list off your weaknesses. In a third square, you list your opportunities. And in the fourth square, you list threats. Most of the time when you do this kind of SWOT analysis, you do it in comparison to one or more competitors. And it's my experience, and I have to look at my notes here. It's my experience that we, in the game industry, we are concerned with a couple of areas when we do a SWOT analysis. And we can do it store versus store, or we can do it by these categories. And those categories are the event schedules, inventory amount, play space, social media presence, and the staff. Now, if I forgot something, feel free to sound off in the comments and tell me what I forgot. By no means is that a total list, end-all, be-all. I'm sure there are areas that I may have forgotten. Those are the ones that I think about the most. So, for us personally, I believe that one of our strengths is the amount of inventory that we have. Our store is absolutely packed to the gills, although the Games Workshop shelves are looking kind of empty these days with them being out of stock of so many things. But everything else, we're pretty stocked up. I mean, the shelves are full. When we have new game releases, I know currently we're, as I record this video, it's the very last couple of days of May. We're thinking about Star Wars Shatterpoint and where we're going to put that on our shelves, because we absolutely have to move something, condense something, get rid of something to make room for a game such as Shatterpoint. So we're stocked up pretty good. I think of all the competitors in our area, I think that might be one of our biggest strengths. For miniatures, we have many paint lines. I didn't count them ahead of time, but we have Scale 75. We have Monument Hoppies, Pro Acro. We have the Games Workshop full line. We have the Army Painter full line, both model paints and air paints. We have Vallejo, the new game color line with Express colors, and Games Workshop Citadel paints. We have the WizKids D&D Minis paint line, which is really just Vallejo's and littler bottles. We have, I think that's all of them. The Duncan Rhodes Too Thin Coats, we have that on order. Expect that coming anytime soon. So, we have a lot of paint. We have a big supply of Pokemon cards and Magic cards. We buy really deep when Pokemon releases things, so we have stuff in stock for a long time. Same thing with Magic. We have Magic single binders for almost every set, going back to Urza block for sure. Maybe Ice Age Alliance block. We have a pretty extensive inventory of Magic singles. When it comes to play space, there's one store in our area that's a competitor that has larger play space than we do, and there's nothing I can do about that. So for them, that's a strength. That could be a weakness for us. The only way I could fix that would be to physically move our stores somewhere else. And it's just not that big of a threat, I feel, that it would warrant moving the store. So when doing the SWOT analysis, there are a lot of times that I concede that one of our competitors is just better at something than we are, and either I'm not able or willing, or it's just not feasible to do what's necessary to win that particular area. So, for us, they have a bigger game space. There's nothing I am willing to do about it. So we just live with what we have and make the best of that, and hope that some of these other areas can compensate for that. Staffing, we have, I believe, the largest staff of all the game stores in our area. I could be wrong, but it's my belief that most of the stores in the area are an owner and 3 to 5 people who work part-time. We have 15 people on our staff. So I believe, staffing number, is that a strength or a weakness or a threat or an opportunity? I don't know the answer to that. I believe that it's a strength. I believe that the caliber of employee that we have is also a strength. Social media presence, it's something that we always try to be the best at. Though recently opened competitor, when he first opened, every day he did a video and posted it to Facebook. It was when he first came in, call it 11 o'clock. The very first thing he did was walk around his store and do just kind of a here's where we're at kind of video, and showing some things and talking about his plans. And every day that he did one of those videos, I was like, man, I wish I had the foresight or the thought to go in and do a daily video every day. And now I can't do it, because if I do it now, it's going to look like I'm just copying him. And again, if it's totally the right thing for our business, we would do it anyway. But in my mind, I'm thinking about, man, I should have been doing that all along to stop him from being able to do it without looking like he's copying us. So social media presence is something I pay attention to quite a bit. Sometimes it drives me crazy. I mean, we have stores that compete with us that their social media presence is like almost nothing. And yet I keep, hearing how well they're doing. And it's like, we're spending huge amounts of effort promoting our stuff, our events, our new products coming in on social media, and then here's this other store that's not doing anything, that's, allegedly doing just as well. Could be competitor versus competitor banter, could be a fact. I really don't have any way to know that, but it's things that I take into consideration, and just make sure that I'm happy with the level that we're producing at, and that's about the best that I can do. Threats might be the most important of the squares. Threats are where I put things that I see a competitor doing that are of, direct threat to my business. And I haven't really seen anything that goes in that box for a very long time. Not out of my local competitors. I mean, they do things, there's some shift here and there, people come and go. When a new competitor opens, and they start posting pictures of people in their game space, and, I see people that are in their game space that I recognize that used to come to us. I mean, that's not really a threat. That's just kind of the way it works. When a competitor opens at the other end of town, they're now going to be the closest game store for some percentage of the population. And, who knows what makes people decide which game store to go to. I'm sure there's a million different factors that go into that, and some of them are in our control and a lot of them are not. So I don't consider just a new game store opening to be a threat. The things that they do would potentially go into that box as a threat. And I can't really think of anything offhand that would be an immediate threat to us. And I know that may sound arrogant, but you can't cheat time. We've been in business for 27 years. The competitor that's older than us has been in business 40, I think. I mean, they've been around long enough where not only do they have kids of customers coming in, they have grandkids of customers coming in, and they're into their third generation of customers at this point. And there's not a lot that would threaten them either. I mean, mostly new stores opening are they're moderately a threat. What I would consider to be a real threat would be, and I don't even know if I should say this, but something like Seattle area Mox boarding house style store, cafe, bar, dedicated game space, beautiful fixtures. If one of those ever decided to open up in the South Bend area, I would probably just throw it in and close up and go on to something else. That level of competition would be a huge threat. Because if that, store was so big and huge and beautifully renovated, where it was all brand new fixtures and it had a restaurant and a cafe and a bar in it, I'm out. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. One of the third square that I may have kind of skipped over is opportunities. Opportunities come out of doing a SWOT analysis of a competitor. where instead of your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, you do the chart from their perspective. What are their strengths? And a lot of these will just be the opposite of yours. Their weakness might be our strength, and our weakness might be their strength. And opportunities usually come out of identifying my weakness or their weakness and have it be something that's actionable. And it could be anything from figuring out that there's some pent up local demand for running organized play for some game that you hadn't considered before. It could be changing your hours to be open a little later, or I mean, there's any number of things that it could be for an opportunity. Picking up a new paint line might be an opportunity for somebody. But paint line, that's kind of a good example. I'm pretty confident in the fact that we are the strongest store in our area when it comes to diversification of different paint lines. There's an opportunity for a store to differentiate themselves by picking up a paint line that we don't carry. We'll call it, I think Turbo Dork might be a line of paint that we considered and just decided not to bring in. Nothing against Turbo Dork. We just decided we didn't have room for it, and we couldn't figure out what we would cut to make room for it. So we don't currently have Turbo Dork. If one of our competitors did, that's going to be a strength for them, a weakness for us. And if they did a SWOT analysis prior to bringing that in, that would be an opportunity for them. All right, well, so to wrap up, competitors. They're a necessary evil, for lack of a better phrase. There's no reason to be vicious with each other. Ultimately, I don't think that accomplishes anything or does anything. Be good to each other. Just do your thing. Keep your head down. Don't pay attention to them. Just do what you're going to do, and the market will reward you or punish you. And if you get rewarded, yay, celebrate the victory. If the market punishes you, you should reevaluate, do a SWOT analysis, and try again. None of those steps include taking steps to harm a competitor. There's just no point in doing it. It's not going to work. It reminds me very much of a scene from the movie 13 Days with Kevin Costner, when the president, who's playing JFK, asks the general, what are they going to do if we do this? And the general says, nothing, because we're superior. And the actor playing JFK says, no, that's not true. They're going to do something. If we go in and do that, they're going to respond. And the takeaway from that is, if you start taking shots at your competitor, they're probably not going to just lay down and take it and say, oh, there's nothing we can do. They're going to get into it and potentially do something to take a shot at you that maybe you weren't expecting, and, create situations that maybe you don't want to be in. So for us, we just try to be as benign as possible to our competitors while still doing our business. And I've probably bored you enough. If you're still here at this point in the video, please like and subscribe. And also let me know what you think in the comments. If you disagree with me, that's great. Tell me why. I'm a grown-up. I can take it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.